Let me ask you something. What would you do if your car tire blew out tomorrow? What if the refrigerator suddenly gave up or a surprise medical bill showed up in your mailbox? If you're like most Americans, you'd probably panic.
Did you know that nearly 40 of Americans couldn't handle a $400 emergency without borrowing money or reaching for a credit card? Think about that for a moment. One little hiccup, one unexpected expense, and suddenly you're drowning in financial stress.
And it doesn't stop there, because when you don't have a plan, these emergencies keep piling on, pushing you further into debt. But here's the good news. You don't have to live this way.
You can take control, and it starts with one simple, life-changing step: creating a small emergency fund. Let me tell you, this isn't just about money. This is about money. This is about kept peace of minds. Life happens, and we can't always predict when the water heater will go out or when your kid needs a quick trip to the doctor. But you know what we can do? We can prepare. A small, easily accessible emergency fund is your shield, your safety net, your first line of defense against the chaos life throws your way. It's not just a pile of cash sitting there. It's your way of saying, I'm ready for you, world. Bring it on. I get it. I've been there. I wasn't always the guy giving financial advice to millions of people. Years ago, I made stupid decisions with money, big, painful ones. I thought I was invincible, living paycheck to paycheck, juggling credit cards and hoping nothing would go wrong. And then life happened. I hit rock bottom. I lost everything. But you know what? That moment taught me the power of having a plan. And it all started with setting aside a small amount of money that I could count on in an emergency. It's not about being rich or having it all figured out. It's about being prepared for the unexpected. So here's the deal. When you have even a small amount of money set aside, something magical happens. Suddenly, that flat tire isn't a crisis. It's an inconvenience. That unexpected bill doesn't have to derail your life. It's just a problem you can solve. A small emergency fund, I'm talking about $1,000 set aside, gives you the freedom to breathe. It lets you stop living in fear of the next disaster and start taking control of your life. But let me be clear. This isn't optional. This is the non-negotiable. Life will happen whether you're ready for it or not. Emergencies don't send you a save. And let's be honest, most of the time it's not even a question of something will go wrong. It's not even a question of something will go wrong. It's a question of, so why not face it with confidence? Why not put yourself in a position where you can handle it without relying on credit cards, payday loans, or asking friends and family for help? I want you to imagine what it would feel like to have a cushion, to know that when life throws you a curveball, you can stand tall and handle it. That's what a small emergency fund does for you. It's not about becoming wealthy overnight or solving all your financial problems. It's about starting somewhere. It's about building the foundation that will allow you to tackle bigger goals down the road. And let me tell you, once you have that $1,000 saved up, you're going to feel a weight lift off your shoulders. You'll sleep better at night. You'll walk a little taller because you'll know you've got this. So let's make a decision right now. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today, commit to starting your emergency fund no matter how small. Sell something. Skip the drive through. Hustle for some extra cash. Do whatever it takes, because the moment you start, you're already winning. This is your first step toward financial freedom. It's not flashy, and it's not flashy, and it's not fun, but it's the smartest thing you can do for yourself and your family. And trust me, when that first emergency hits and you can take care of it without breaking a sweat, you'll thank yourself. Now, let's get real about this. How do you actually start building that emergency fund? Because let me tell you, it's not going to magically appear. You're not going to wake up one morning, stretch, and find $1,000 under your pillow like some kind of financial tooth fairy showed up. This is about making a decision, a bold, no excuses decision that you're going to do whatever it takes to protect your future. You've got to get scrappy, focused, and maybe even a little uncomfortable. But guess what? That discomfort, that's the feeling of growth. That's the feeling of progress. And it's worth it. The first thing you need to do is take a hard, honest look at your finances. I mean, a no holds barred flashlight in the dark corners look? Where's your money actually going? How much are you spending on things that don't even matter? I guarantee there are dollars slipping through your fingers every single day. Dollars that could be going straight into your emergency fund. Cancel that subscription you forgot you had. Skip the morning coffee run. Pack your lunch instead of eating out. And don't roll your eyes at me, because I know for a fact that these small changes add up. You don't think $5 here and $10 there make a difference?
Think again. That's your emergency fund sitting there in plain sight, disguised as convenience.
And let's talk about selling some stuff.
Oh, yeah. I know. You're attached to your things.
But let me tell you something. Your things aren't going to save you when the water heater breaks down. Your things aren't going to help when the car refuses to start. That old bike sitting in the garage, the clothes in the back of your closet you haven't worn in years, the random gadgets you bought during a late night online shopping spree. It's time to let them go. Host a garage sale. Post them online. Whatever it takes to get cash in hand, do it. Because let me tell you, that $20 from a pair of shoes you never wear, that's gas money when you need it. That $100 from selling an old tablet, that's a lifeline when an unexpected bill lands on your lap. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but Dave, I'm already stretched so thin. I don't have anything to sell and I can't cut back anymore. I hear you. I've been there. And this is where you dig deeper. Maybe it's time to pick up a side hustle, even if it's just temporary. Deliver pizzas, walk dogs, babysit, mow lawns, find a way to bring in extra cash, even if it's just for a month or two. And don't you dare let pride get in your way. You think you're too good to deliver groceries? You think you're above washing cars? Let me tell you something. There's nothing more respectable than taking control of your life and doing what needs to be done to take care of your family. And here's the thing. This isn't forever. This is just for now. It's a sprint, not a marathon. You're not going to spend your entire life pinching pennies or working 2 jobs. You're doing this to build a foundation, to get that first $1,000 in place, so when life happens, you're not knocked flat on your back. You're doing this to buy yourself freedom from the endless cycle of borrowing and stressing. And let me tell you, every dollar you save, every little sacrifice you make is worth it. Because once you've got that emergency fund, you'll feel like you can finally breathe. But let's be clear. This takes discipline. This takes commitment. This takes saying no to things you want now so you can say yes to peace of mind later. So, no, you don't need the latest gadget. No, you don't need that weekend getaway right now. No, you need to impress people with things you can't afford. What you need is security. What you need is the confidence that comes with knowing you're ready for whatever life throws at you. So today, right now, I want you to make a plan. Write down every expense you can cut. List everything you can sell. Brainstorm ways to earn extra cash. And then get to work. Because when you hold that $1,000 in your hand, knowing you've hustled for it, sacrificed for it, earned it, that feeling, it's priceless. And once you've got it, you'll never want to go back to living paycheck to paycheck, one emergency away from financial disaster. This is your moment to take control. Let's go. So you've made the decision. You're building your emergency fund. You've started cutting expenses, selling stuff, maybe even picking up extra work. Now, let's talk about the next big question. Where do you keep this money? Because this isn't just about having cash on hand. It's about putting that cash in the right place so it's ready for you when you need it.
Leave your birdie nugget. Let me be crystal clear. This is your emergency fund, not your fun.
This isn't money for spontaneous road trips, new shoes, or upgrading to the latest smartphone. This is the money that stands between you and financial chaos when life throws you a curveball. And where you keep it matters. First things first, your emergency fund needs to be accessible. I'm not saying you should stash it under your mattress or keep it in a coffee can in the pantry, but it does need to be somewhere you can get to it quickly and easily in a real emergency.
Savings account is a great place to start.
I'm talking about a simple, no frills savings account that's separate from your everyday checking account.
Why?
Because if it's sitting right there in your checking account, you're going to be tempted to dip into it. You'll see that balance and think, oh, I can splurge a little this month, or I deserve that extra treat.
Don't kid yourself. You're not going to outsmart temptation. You need to put some distance between you and that money while still keeping it within reach when you need it most.
Let's break this down further. Your emergency fund shouldn't be tied up in investments. This is not your 401k. This is not your stock portfolio. I don't care if someone tells you that putting this money into mutual funds will help it grow.
That's not the point.
The point is stability and accessibility and accessibility. Imagine this. Your car breaks down and you need $800 to fix it. You go to pull that money out of the stock market, but guess what? The market just had a bad week and your $1,000 emergency fund is now worth $850. Or maybe the funds aren't liquid and you can't get the cash in time. That's a disaster waiting to happen. Your emergency fund isn't an investment. It's insurance. It's a buffer. It's your safety net, and you don't gamble with your safety net. Now, let me talk about something else. Don't overcomplicate this. I know some of you are thinking about opening a high-yield savings account or finding a bank with the best interest rate. That's fine if it's simple, but don't get so caught up in chasing an extra 0.5 interest that you delay actually saving the money. The priority here is having the money ready and waiting when you need it. And let me tell you, the peace of mind you'll get from having that cash set aside is worth more than any interest rate you could ever find. But here's the kicker. While your emergency fund needs to be accessible, it also needs to be accessible. It also needs to be visible. What do I mean by that? I mean, you need to treat this money like it doesn't even exist until you absolutely need it. This isn't money you dip into for birthdays, holidays, or those, but I really, really want it moments. This is untouchable. This is untouchable. This is sacred. And if you've got to put it somewhere where it's a little harder to reach, maybe it's an online savings account that takes a day or two to transfer money. That small delay can be enough to stop you from making an impulsive decision while still giving you access when it really counts. And listen, emergencies are going to happen. That's why this fund exists. When the moment comes, don't beat yourself up for using it. That's what it's there for. The real win is that you're using your money, not Visa's money, not Visa's money, not MasterCard's money, not the payday loan shark's money. You're using your money, and that's what puts you in control. But here's the rule. Once you use it, you replenish it. You replenish it. You go back to cutting costs, selling things, or picking up extra hours until that fund is fully restored, because the next emergency is out there, and you need to be ready for it. So here's your action step. Open a savings account specifically for your emergency fund. Start transferring the money you've been saving into that account and make a commitment to yourself that you won't touch it unless it's a real emergency. No excuses, no justifications. This is your safety net, and it's time to treat it like the lifeline it is. Trust me, when the next life happens, moment hits, and you've got the cash to handle it without breaking a sweat, you'll know you made the right call. You'll feel strong. You'll feel in control. And that, my friend, is what financial peace looks like. Let's talk about why this small emergency fund is such a game changer. Some of you might be thinking it's just $1,000. What difference can that even make? And let me tell you something. It makes all the difference in the world. It's not about the amount. It's about what it represents. That $1,000 isn't just money sitting in an account. It's security. It's a lifeline. It's the first step in breaking free from the cycle of financial stress that has been holding you hostage. You see, without a plan, every little bump in the road feels like a crisis. A flat tire, an unexpected medical copay, or a broken appliance suddenly spirals into panic mode because you don't have the cash to cover it. That's when you turn to credit cards or payday loans and the cycle starts all over again. But when you have an emergency fund, even a small one, it changes the way you see these moments. Instead of chaos, you have confidence. Instead of stress, you have a solution. And that feeling, that's priceless. Let me paint you a picture of how this works. Imagine you're driving to work one morning and bam, you hit a pothole the size of the Grand Canyon and your tire is shredded. Now, without an emergency fund, what happens? You panic. You pull out the credit card, adding another $300 to your balance, and you tell yourself you'll pay it off later. But guess what? Later doesn't come because something else always pops up. That $300 grows into $400 with interest, and before you know it, you're deeper in debt than you were before. But if you've got that $1,000 emergency fund, it's a completely different story. You call the tow truck, pay for the tire, and move on with your life. No stress, no debt, just a minor inconvenience instead of a full-blown financial disaster. That's the power of being prepared. And here's the thing. This isn't just about the numbers. This is about your mindset. When you know you've got money set aside for emergencies, you stop living in fear. You stop waiting for the next bad thing to happen because you know you can handle it. And let me tell you, that shift in mindset is a game changer. It's like going from constantly treading water to finally having a life raft. It gives you the space to focus on the bigger picture, to dream about your future, to start working toward those bigger financial goals. Because here's the truth. You can't build wealth if you're constantly drowning in emergencies. The emergency fund is your first step towards stability, and stability is the foundation for everything else.
Now, let's get real for a second. Emergencies are going to happen.
That's life.
The car is going to break down.
The air conditioner is going to quit in the middle of July.
The kid is going to need stitches.
And when those things happen, having an emergency fund doesn't make them fun or easy, but it does make them manageable.
And that's what this is all about. Giving yourself the power to manage life instead of letting life manage you.
You know what that's called. At control. And when you're in control, you make better decisions. You're not panicking, you're not scrambling, and you're not making choices out of desperation.
You're calm, focused, and in charge.
But here's what I love most about the emergency fund. It's not just a safety net, it's a confidence builder.
Think about it. When you hit that first $1,000, you're going to feel unstoppable.
You're going to look at that balance and think, I did this. I made this happen. It's proof that you can set a goal and achieve it. It's proof that you're capable of taking control of your finances.
And that confidence, that's going to fuel you for the next step. Because once you see what's possible, you'll realize there's no limit to what you can achieve.
So don't underestimate the power of this small step. It might not seem like much, but it's the beginning of something big. It's the moment when you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start becoming the hero of your own story. It's the moment when you say, enough is enough. I'm not living paycheck to paycheck anymore. I'm not going to let emergencies derail my life. I'm taking control. And that decision, that commitment is going to change everything. This is your chance to draw a line in the sand to say, from this point forward, I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to take care of my family and my future. And when the next emergency comes, and trust me, you're going to handle it like a boss. You're going to look back on this moment and know that this is where it all started. This is where you took the first step toward financial peace. So don't wait. Don't hesitate. Start now and let this small emergency fund be the foundation for the incredible life you're building. You've got this. Let's go. Let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention. The discipline it takes to leave your emergency fund alone. Because let's face it, once you've built that $1,000 safety net, it's going to feel pretty good. You're going to look at that account balance and think, wow, I actually did it. And that's fantastic. You guys should feel proud. But let me give you a little warning. That sense of accomplishment can quickly turn into temptation. You'll start to think about all the other things you could do with that money. Maybe I could dip into it just a little for this weekend trip. Or I really deserve that new TV. Or I really deserve that new TV. Or the holidays are coming. I could use some of it for gifts. But let me tell you something. Don't you dare touch it, unless it's a real emergency. And no, your kid's birthday party or a new set of golf clubs is not an emergency. This money is sacred. It's off limits for anything other than true emergencies. And let's define what that means, because I know some of you might try to convince yourselves that anything unexpected counts. True emergency is something unplanned, necessary, and urgent. Let me say that again. Unplanned, necessary, and urgent. Your car breaking down and leaving you stranded. That's an emergency.
Your refrigerator dying in the middle of a heat wave. That's an emergency.
Sale on plane tickets to Hawaii.
That's an emergency. Neither is upgrading your phone because the new model just came out.
You've got to be honest with yourself here. Every time you're tempted to use that money, ask yourself, is this truly unplanned, necessary, and urgent, or is it just something I want? Now, here's the tough part. Life is going to test you. You'll have moments where it feels like everyone else is living their best life, taking vacations, buying new gadgets, driving fancy cars, and you're sitting there with your emergency fund, wondering why you're not doing the same. But let me remind you of something. This is temporary. This isn't forever. Right now, you're laying the groundwork for a future where you won't have to worry about money, where you can enjoy the things you want without sacrificing your peace of mind. The people who live for today without a plan for tomorrow, they're the ones who end up drowning in debt, stressed out, and unable to sleep at night. That's not going to be you because you're making smarter choices. You're playing the long game, and it's going to pay off. And let's talk about what happens when you actually have to use your emergency fund, because guess what? Emergencies will happen. That's why this fund exists in the first place. When the day comes that you need to dip into it, don't feel guilty. Don't beat yourself up for spending the money you work so hard to save. That's what it's there for. It's not a failure to use your emergency fund. It's a success. It means you planned ahead. You were prepared, and you didn't have to rely on debt to get through a tough situation. But, and this is important, once you use it, your first priority is to replenish it. The moment the crisis is over, you get back to work rebuilding that fund. You cut expenses, sell things, pick up extra shifts, whatever it takes to get that $1,000 back in place, because life doesn't stop and the next emergency could be just around the corner. Here's the thing. Having an emergency fund isn't just about the money. It's about who you're becoming in the process. It's about learning discipline, patience, and self-control. It's about taking responsibility for your life and your finances. And let me tell you, those skills are going to serve you in every area of your life, not just your bank account. When you learn to say no to impulse spending, you're not just protecting your emergency fund. You're building a habit of making smart decisions. When you commit to replenishing your fund after an emergency, you're proving to yourself that you can bounce back from anything. And when you leave that money untouched for all the non-emergencies that will try to convince you otherwise, you're showing yourself and the world that you're in control. So here's my challenge to you. Guard that emergency fund like your financial life depends on it, because it does. Treat it like it's not even your money. It's there for one purpose and one purpose and one purpose only, to protect you when life happens.
And when you feel tempted to use it for something that isn't an emergency, remind yourself of the bigger picture. Remind yourself that this fund is a stepping stone to something much greater. It's the foundation for a future where you're no longer living paycheck to paycheck, no longer stressed out about every unexpected expense, no longer wondering how you're going to make ends meet.
You've got this. You're capable of more than you think. And this emergency fund is proof of that. It's a symbol of the discipline and determination you're building every single day. So stay strong, stay focused, and keep your eyes on the prize. Because the peace of mind that comes from knowing you're ready for anything, that's worth every bit of sacrifice. Let's keep moving forward. You're on your way to something amazing. Let's take a moment to step back and see the bigger picture. You've started building your emergency fund. You've made sacrifices. You've taken control, and maybe you're even seeing that $1,000 sitting there, ready and waiting for whatever life throws your way. So now you might be asking, what's next? Is this it? Oh, no, my friend. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. This small emergency fund is the first brick in the foundation of your financial fortress. It's proof that you can take control, make a plan, and follow through. It's proof that you don't have to live paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, constantly stressed about the next bump in the road. But it's also a stepping stone, a starting point for something much greater. Because now that you've mastered the habit of saving, now that you've built the discipline to prioritize your future, you're ready to tackle the bigger goal. Here's where we start thinking beyond the small emergencies and looking at the bigger picture. The next step is building a fully funded emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses set aside for life's major curveballs. I'm talking about the big stuff: job loss, medical emergencies, or unexpected moves. You see, that $1,000 is like a safety net for the little stuff, but the fully funded emergency fund, that's your parachute. That's what keeps you afloat when the storm lasts longer than a few days. And let me tell you, when you have 3 to 6 months of expenses in the bank, the way you walk through life changes. Suddenly, you're not living in fear. You're not worried about how you're going to pay the mortgage if something goes wrong. You're not lying awake at night, stressed about what might happen. Instead, you're walking with confidence, knowing you're prepared for anything. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The journey to financial peace is one step at a time. And for now, the focus is on maintaining and protecting that $1,000 emergency fund. Because here's the truth. If you can stay committed to this, if you can prove to yourself that you have the discipline to save and the wisdom to leave it untouched until it's truly needed, you're laying the groundwork for every other financial goal you'll achieve.
Whether it's getting out of debt, saving for retirement, or even building wealth, it all starts with this one simple habit: setting money aside and leaving it alone for when you need it most.
This isn't just a step in the process. It's the foundation of your financial plan.
And let me remind you of something important. This isn't just about you. Your financial decisions affect the people you care about, your spouse, your kids, even your future self. By building and protecting your emergency fund, you're creating stability for your family. You're showing your kids what it looks like to be responsible with money. You're setting an example that will impact generations to come. So when you feel tempted to give up, when you're frustrated by the sacrifices or tired of saying no to the things you want, remember why you're doing this. It's not just about having money in the bank. It's about building a life where you're no longer controlled by financial stress. It's about creating freedom, security, and peace of mind for you and the people you love. Now let's talk about the mindset shift that happens when you hit this milestone. When you have that emergency fund in place, even a small one, you stop reacting to life and start responding to it. You're no longer living in survival mode, scrambling to put out fires every time something goes wrong. Instead, you're calm, steady, and prepared. That's a powerful place to be.
It gives you the space to think clearly, to make better decisions, and to approach your finances with confidence instead of fear. And that shift, that's where the real transformation begins.
Because once you've tasted the freedom of being in control, you're not going to want to go to the way things were. You're going to want more. Not more stuff, but more peace, more security, more options. And that's exactly what this process is about.
So let's bring it all home. You've done the hard work to get started. You've taken that first step, and you've proven to yourself that you can do this. Now, it's about staying the course, staying disciplined, and keeping your eyes on the bigger picture, because this isn't just about surviving emergencies. It's about thriving in life. It's about building a financial plan that allows you to live the life you've always wanted, free from the stress and anxiety of money problems. And it all starts here with this simple decision to save, to plan, and to protect yourself from life's unpredictability. So here's my final challenge to you. Don't stop now. Keep going. Keep building. Keep building. Keep dreaming. Because the choices you're making today are shaping the future you'll live tomorrow. And trust me, when you look back on this moment, when you see how far you've come and what you've achieved, you'll be so glad you made the decision to take control. You've got this, let's go